Everyone, welcome to SteveO TV with me, Rich Gibbons.
And me, Stephen Old.
And today we've got a bit of a breaking news story to discuss and share with you. So you may have seen it already, that the mighty IBM have acquired Kubecost. So I thought it made sense to jump on with SteveO, learn a little bit more about Kubecost, why IBM might have acquired them, and see what we can learn. So Kubecost, Steve, I'm familiar with them to some degree, but if you could give us all a little breakdown as to what they are.
Yeah, I would argue probably certainly the first company I was aware of who specialized in Kubernetes cost visibility and management. So interestingly for me, I've got a slight personal link to the What's New in Cloud FinOps podcast. The first person who ever asked us if they could come on was Kubecost with Webb Brown, who's their CEO and founder and co-founder. Really wonderful human being, and we came on and we just talked about like Kubernetes and that. So I, worked in an organization that was very Kubernetes heavy in my past, and were one of the early kind of people bringing it onto AWS. And so it was a big area of interest to me. And these guys were there at the beginning, like Webb sat next to the person who was the product owner of Borg, which came into Kubernetes when he was time at Google and all this, and they saw the problem back then. So a lot of early foresight into some of the problems, and they start thinking about it. One of the great things about them, in my view, open source project. So you've got Opencost, and then you've got the kind of enterprise version, which you can do more things on. Almost anyone that's thinking about doing anything in this space for the cost visibility piece has thought about or is using Opencost or Kubecost. While you've got a lot of tools, Cloud Health, Cloudability, etc., who have a Kubernetes module and you can kind of do it, this is what they lived for. This is all they do, and so are real true specialists in it, which has been really fantastic. So they've been growing over the last X years. He probably came on the podcast like 2-3 years ago. I think they set up in 2019 off the top of my head.
Right.
So about five years in, known as a lead. I was on a call recently where part of an organization was saying, we're looking at using a tool for our Kubernetes visibility. Someone else came on the call and was just like, who are you looking at? Like, quite concerned. And they said Kubecost. And okay, great, yeah, fine, that's all right. That's kind of the concept they've got in the space. So really well thought of, really nice people, and very capable.
Well, I mean that probably answers the next question as to why did IBM buy them. It sounds like a good deal.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think specifically?
It's an interesting one, right? So IBM aren't stupid, especially if you look at all the people they're acquiring. So I'm certainly 99% sure, and I haven't got all my notes in front of me to check this, and I try not to share anything that's from the assessments we do of tools, but I'm fairly sure that it's a known thing that there are modules within Cloudability that you can do Kubernetes visibility. Now, does this say to me one of two things? Why do you buy organizations? You buy organizations for capability or for market share, right? So is this saying, hey, we don't feel we're getting enough of the Kubernetes specialist market, we need to go and do it? Or are they saying, hey, we want to really improve our capability in that space? I would guess it's capability. So while they have stuff and it probably does an okay job, they want to take it to the next level because that's something their customers are asking for. And in their buy versus build, buys make more sense. They also probably quite like the open source nature, that there's all of those Opencost customers that this gives them some sort of link to as well. Potentially that's one thing I'd be thinking about for them. So I think it'll be capability led. I think everyone at IBM knows that Kubecost are kind of one of the people front of the game in this space. They like being in front of the game. So let's go get ourselves there through an acquisition, which to them, is just the way they roll.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. IBM are building a pretty strong portfolio. So, they've bought Kubecost, they bought HashiCorp for Terraform, Apptio Cloudability,
Turbonomics, Cloudwiry,
yeah.
Nord Cloud. They're the only company when I kind of do competitive analysis of the cloud space, for the tooling work we do. They're the only people who are a cloud vendor because they've got their own cloud. They are a professional services and managed service company because they own people like Nord Cloud. They are tooling providers in multiple spaces because Aptio, Turbonomics, Cloudability, while all somewhere aligned. They bought Cloudwire, if memory serves, which I don't even know where that's kind of gone in the portfolio. HashiCorp, if you own Terraform, you own most of how things in a short way are going into the cloud now, right? There's been huge acquisitions, and this one, I think probably by size in terms of value is probably one of the smaller ones, but it's tactically very, very astute.
Yeah.
It's 80 something percent of organizations say they expect to be using Kubernetes in the next year or something. So, if you've got if you're IBM, you're already talking to people, right? You have a conversation with every organization pretty much already. You're on the magic quadrant for all this, and I think, here's another conversation to have, another upsell for their sellers, etc. Yeah, significant acquisition spending that they've been putting on the last 3 to 5 years. I can't remember how
Yeah,
long
I
ago.
mean, I guess the big one was Red Hat.
Of course, yeah,
So
Red Hat, yeah.
34 billion, and I
Yeah.
think I want to say that was 2019, which on one hand feels like forever ago, pre-pandemic. Can we even remember?
Yeah.
But also, it's only 5 years,
Yeah.
not that long in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah, when you think of Red Hat and all the other ones we've just mentioned, it's a strong portfolio. I mentioned on LinkedIn that it does still feel like a bunch of separate companies.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And a few of the people from said companies did comment and kind of say, give us some time. It takes a minute, which is fair enough. But yeah, I think IBM are low key becoming a real key cloud player without many people really noticing almost.
Yeah. Well, like you say, like I knew about all those independent pieces of news at the time, and obviously with all the work I do in the FinOps tooling game, I know all of the FinOps tools they've got. But I'd forgotten about Red Hat. Like even during this call, we only talked about it again yesterday. I'd forgotten about HashiCorp. You know, they're just smartly acquiring bits and bobs. I would love to know what the final vision looks like. I'd love to know if they know what the final vision looks like. I don't think you can spend this kind of money without one, so I'd assume they do. They've got some very clever people. Even if we look at some like the FinOps pros, they have a good chunk of the early FinOps pros at the organization. So
right.
It seems like a real focused part of the world for them. Cloudability being the organization that initially spun out the FinOps Foundation as well. There's still tight links there, and still key sponsor to everything and anything. So when we do the FinOps meetups in the UK that Mike Bradbury runs, a friend of ours, they're generally sponsored by Aptio Cloudability, which is therefore IBM. They are really putting money and time into this game. Every event I go to, they're there.
Yeah. I think, I haven't been to anywhere near as many as you have, but they've definitely been at all those ones. I'm pretty sure I've got some Cloudability or Aptio socks, I think, from one of the events. So I guess for people that are already Kubecost customers, there's always that sort of period where you think, what does this mean for me as a customer? Will it be good, bad, etc.? And I guess we need to wait and see.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think I've heard many Cloudability customers saying that it hasn't been a positive experience. Can't really comment for Turbonomic customers. I don't know that many of them. But actually, maybe I'd argue maybe that's been proved under IBM. Nord Cloud, I know them a bit. They are acting like their own organization still, not in a bad way, but they're being allowed to do that. So I think they compared to a lot of organizations, they don't seem to be playing the acquisition game badly. They don't seem to be butchering organizations. There doesn't seem to be mass leavers. I'm sure there are some, but there doesn't seem to be mass leavers. So I would be, quietly optimistic. And I, on a personal note, I just hope my friend Webb's made a load of money,
Well, maybe we can get him on and he can
He could tell us.
Yeah,
from a
he
yacht.
buys a couple of drinks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it seems it's positive for IBM. It seems positive for Kubecost. Hopefully it will be positive for customers. But I think in the ITAM world and the FinOps world, any acquisition is always interesting for multiple reasons. So it's definitely something for people to keep their eye on, whether you're a Kubecost customer or not.
Indeed, there's more and more partnerships going on as well. Maybe I should do some little videos on that. I think Yerkin and Anna Dot have done some partner stuff. I think Green Pixie are doing some new partner stuff for some new organisations. So maybe it would be a useful thing for us to do some more videos on. Because there is so much movement going on. Yeah.
Yeah. And now we've said it on a recording,
We'll
so
have
we're
to
going
do
to
it.
have to do it.
Exactly. That's what I thought, because I hadn't pre-warned you I was going to say that. So now it's out there, isn't it?
Yep, I like that. We're committed to it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much as always, and I will see you on the next one.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.